Here's the whole thing of 2020 vision for us. I mean, I think just about every church is doing this. If they're not doing it, they just didn't want to jump on the bandwagon because they think they're too cool. We're not too cool. We know we're geeks around here, so we jumped on the bandwagon. 2020 vision, right? But here's the thought. Here's the idea that I want us to get around is the whole 2020. And they confuse it, and it frustrates me. They should have just made it simple. But how many know that you can be farsighted, and if you're farsighted, you have trouble seeing stuff close up, right? Why did they not just make this the way it should be? If you're nearsighted, you have stuff that's harder to see further away, right? But here's the challenge. Here is the thing for our lives. If this is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna talk about vision, not just for this house, not just for what God's doing in Life Church and where we're headed as a church. And I think that's incredibly important, and I'll tell you why here in a minute, for all of us to be on the same page about that. But everything I'm saying to you today applies to your personal life as well. Everything we're talking about today goes with your personal life as well. And I'm telling you, if you want 2020, if you want to get to the December, 31st, and it be the best 2020 that you could have ever dreamed possible, you better have an idea of what you want it to look like when you get there. You got to have a vision. You got to have a dream. You got to have something that you're saying, this is where I'm headed in 2020, right? And that way, when you get there, you can recognize if you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. So for us, it's important for us to be 2020. Matter of fact, if you're going to lead anything, if you're going to lead a church, if you're going to lead your family, if you're going to lead in a relationship, if you're going to lead at work, if you're going to lead in school, you better have 2020 vision, where you are really, really good with seeing close up what's happening in the moment, but you also need to be really, really good at having that far vision as well, where you can see out in the distance, where you can say, hey, this is where I'm at right now, but this is where I'm going. It is so wise of all of us in this place. See, we're really good, I believe especially in America, we are really good at starting stuff and saying that would be a great idea, like let's do it, but we don't ever really, not a lot of us, not most of us anyway, have a real good idea of what we want it to end up like when we actually get to that point. Does that make sense? We have these great ideas, but we really don't know what we want to, like where we want it to end up. I think it is so wise for us to take a second, take a breath, and say, God, for the rest of the time that I'm on this planet, what is it that you want me to do? What is it that you've called me to do? What is it that you want me to put all of my passion, all of my effort towards? With the rest of the breath that is in my lungs, how can I serve you? I think this is an crazy important question for all of us to ask ourselves, because the fact of the matter is it gives us a clear vision of where we're going. It gives us a really clear vision of where we're going. Proverbs 29:18. There's the verse is on there that I'm going to read out of the Message, and that's fine. But there's another version of it that says this. It says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Another one says, where there is no vision, the people wander aimlessly. In other words, when you don't have vision, you're just kind of doing whatever it is you want to do. There's no clear instruction. There's no clear direction on where you're going. I don't want that for your life, and I definitely don't want that for this community. I want us to have a really clear 2020 vision on where we're headed in this future. Does that sound good? And you need to have that for your life as well. But listen to how the Message reads it, because I love it. It says, if people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. But when they attend to what he reveals, they are most blessed. I don't want to stumble all over myself in 2020. I don't want to have a clear direction, not have a clear direction of where I'm going. I want to have a clear direction so I'm not wandering aimlessly, so I'm not stumbling all over myself. Matter of fact, the Bible says that you will be most blessed, not just blessed. I love how, pay attention to the words in Scripture. Don't let one just slip by. Most blessed, not just blessed, most blessed. You want to be most blessed this year? Get a clear vision of where you're going. And I believe the best way for us to do that is to take a second, breathe in, and ask God, what is it that you have for my life? What is it that you want me to accomplish? Just maybe just stick with 2020. What is it that you want me to do this year, Father? You want me to be a better husband? I get that. You want me to do to be a leader in school? I get that. Man, give me some vision. Give me some direction on what that looks like. That makes sense? Y'all with me so far? You good? You still awake? I don't need to bring Christian back up here and motivate everybody again, do I? That should have worked. That should have lasted till I'm done here today, right? So let me give you a few things of why vision, what it does for your life. What will vision do for your life? The first thing vision will do for your life is it'll bring focus. Vision will bring focus. I was telling some people just this week that Lyric is my middle boy. I love him. He's a champ, man. He makes me laugh. He's funny, almost sometimes too funny. We got to kind of rein that back a little bit every once in a while. But he's just got a huge old heart. But he's got glasses. He's had glasses since he was like 2. And he, for real, like most of the time when he was little, he hated looking through his glasses. So they'd be like down here and he'd be looking at you like this, like doing this now. And he's just such a cool kid. But most of the time he's got boogers and snot and everything else all over his glasses. Like there's no way he's got real good vision because he can't even focus, right, on what like he's supposed to be because his glasses are so dirty. But man, I'm telling you, vision will start to give you clear focus. It will start to give you a clear picture of what you're going for in your life. But you got to have vision. You got to have vision. Vision will bring focus. Vision will bring, it will give you the wisdom of what to say yes to and what to say no to. Can I tell you that Britt and I, when we started this church last year, when we moved over here, we didn't start until, baby, help me out. What was our launch day? September 22nd. We didn't start till September 22nd, but we obviously had a lot of work to do before we got to that point. And when we moved over here, I'm just going to tell you, a lot of our focus on the things that we were focused on for the priorities in our life, it changed, it shifted. There was things that we were focused on that we said, hey, you know what? If this is where we're headed, if this is what God's called us to do, then we're going to have to get our priorities kind of readjusted here. Our family time, our time with our kids and their sports and all of that stuff. We're going to have to open up some time for what God's really wanting us to do, right? And I believe that the Bible is very clear on it, when it says this. It says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So in other words, it's really easy. It's actually, let's take it to the opposite. It's incredibly hard to have a good yes or a good no. And what I mean by that is to stay committed to what you've said yes to and what you said no to when you have no vision. Because you just wander aimlessly. Sure, I'll do that. Oh, I forgot I had this going on. Oh, yeah, I'll be a part of that while I'm a part of, 15 other things, right? Like clear vision will give you focus on what you need for your priorities, to say yes to the right things, to say no to the no things. There's things right now in Britt and I's life where we will say yes, absolutely, because it's our priority. It's what we're focused on. It's where we're headed. It's a clear vision of where we're going. But there's also things that we will say, no, we don't have the time for that this time around. No, we can't be at that. No, we can't do that. And it helps you to give a really clear focus on priorities. Does this make sense? So priorities. Proverbs 17 says this. It says, an intelligent person aims at wise action, but a fool sets off in many directions. I don't want to be a fool. Like, I'm okay being known for a lot of things in this life. I do not want to be known as a fool in this life. And this is what Proverbs said. This is one of the wisest guys that was writing this in Proverbs. He said, listen, an intelligent person aims with wise action, but a fool sets off in many directions. Can I tell you, you will never be great. Listen to what I'm saying. You will never be great at something if you're trying to be good at a whole lot of little things. If you got your attention this year focused on being, great or good at a lot of little things, in other words, if you got your time invested in all these little bitty things, you are going to have a really hard time getting really great at what God's called you to do. And you got to know what God's called you to do. You got to get clear vision and then get focused on what that is. So you can put your priorities and your attention, you can put your yeses and your nos towards that. Does that make sense? But if you're trying to be involved in everything, you're trying to, overcommit yourself, you're going to be doing a little damage. You're going to be doing, you're going to be good at some things, but you're not going to be great at what God's really, really called you to do. I'm going to tell you here at Life Church, how this applies to Life Church is that we will be really great at like 3 or 4 things. We're going to be really great at like 3 or 4 things that we focus on, that we believe God has placed us in this community for. We're going to be really good at those 3 or 4 things. then if there's stuff that other churches or other places are doing, like the Y or other nonprofits or whatever it may be, that's having an impact in our community, we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to go try to start my own domestic violence home when the YW is doing an amazing job right here that we can just support and be a part of. I'm not going to go try to start coffee shops in this town because there's already a church that does a great job with that. And it's an amazing church. You know what we're going to do? We're going to support it. I'm going to go there. I'm going to tell people, hey, go, man, this place is amazing. Like, we're going to support that stuff. We're not going to try to reinvent the wheel, but there's going to be things that we're good at. There's going to be things that we're great at. And that's what our focus is going to be on. That's what our attention is going to be on. Because again, Proverbs says, if you're in a whole lot of stuff, you're really not going to be that good. Like, fools do that. Wise people focus on just a certain thing, something that God's placed in your heart to do. Here's number 2, a great vision will bring endurance. A great vision will bring endurance. If we don't have a good vision of where we're going, we're going to run out of endurance really quickly. I mean, really quickly. If you don't have a vision to help remind you of where you're headed, you're going to quit. You're going to give up because life is hard. Life is challenging. God never promised, let me tell you what he never promised, and I can't promise you this either. God never promised a problem-free life. Matter of fact, he promised the opposite, if I'm just being real with you. He said, in this life, when you hook up with me, you're going to have some stuff. You're going to have some trials. You're going to have some tribulation. And you better remind yourself of why you're in this in the first place so you can have endurance for the things that I've called you to do. I've heard so many people, and if I'm just being real honest, and I try to be as much as I can up here, I've heard so many people say this. They stop doing what God's called them to do because of something that they've gotten tired with in their life. They're tired of trying. They're tired of working. They're tired of the letdowns. They're tired of the same old. Is this hitting anybody? Or is this just me? Tired of feeling like it's never going to happen, that it's never going to work out. Tired of the hurts along the way. And what happens is because we don't have a clear vision of what God's called us to do, when we don't remind ourselves of the vision that God, the dream is what I'm talking about, that God's placed in the inside of our hearts, when our endurance level is really low, the best thing we can do is remind ourselves of who God's called us to be. How crazy would it be if Britt and I have been married almost 16 years. Isn't that amazing? Can we get a hand? She's been incredibly challenging, and we've worked through it all. How crazy, I told some people this week too, how crazy would it be if I just went to Britt and I said, hey babe, we gave this thing a good run. We did our best. We gave it a good run, and we tried it. Didn't work. So thanks for the kids. I'm out. Peace out. Like, come on. Like, that would be crazy. The reason why Britt and I have made it 16 years is not because we've had a great marriage the whole 16 years. I love bursting the bubble of pre-married people. I love bursting that bubble. Come on, married folks. I love bursting that bubble of, hey, this is not what you think. This is a lot of work. Do I love my wife? Absolutely. Do I have to choose that every once in a while? I don't, because she's amazing. But let me tell you, in 16 years, she has had to choose to love me a lot of days. Anything great that happens in our life comes with some work. It comes with work. Young people, this is huge. Everything in life is not just handed. I wished it was. I was kind of spoon-fed as a kid, and then I hit reality. And I'm just telling you, it requires some work. Any great thing that God has done in our lives has come through some work, some hard work. Can I tell you that starting this church is some work? Did y'all know that? This has been a lot of work. I know you think we only work on Sunday mornings. That's your normal view of a pastor. And I wish that was the case. That would be amazing if that was the case. But that's not the reality. And we work hard. And we work hard every single day, to be honest. But this has been a lot of work. And we've had to go back already. All the good things that God has done, we still have had to go back and remind ourselves, hey, this is why we're here. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And it re-energizes us. It gives us our endurance back. It reminds us of what God has called us to do. There is numerous things in I believe it's in Ecclesiastes, different seasons, a time to mourn, a time to grieve, a time to be joyful. Let me tell you what you will never find in throughout all of Scripture, a time to quit. You will never find a time to quit in the Scripture. But you got to have a vision of where you're going. I've seen crazy dudes that have had a vision for getting a girlfriend. Crazy. Like, for real. Like, I'm like, dude, you're probably going to scare her and she's going to run the other direction. But I'm talking about but I kind of appreciate that. Like, I kind of appreciate the attempt of someone who just will not take a no. Like, man, listen, I've seen guys that will ask a girl on a date and they get shot down. But man, they'll just stay at it. They'll buy her flowers. They'll keep asking her out on a date. They'll go get her a necklace, whatever it is, but they will not take no for an answer, right? And you know what happens? Same thing that happened with Todd and Marcy. She eventually is going to go out with you, isn't she, Todd? She eventually is going to go out with you. Actually, 100% true. 100% right. My whole point is don't give up. Don't give up. There's no place to quit. This is not time to quit. This is a time to push forward. This is a time to remind yourself of who God's called you to be. Here's number 3. Vision will bring peace. Vision will bring peace. It's not your peace, but it will bring peace. Vision will help remind you that you may not be where you want to be, but thank God you're not where you were. You may not be exactly who God has called you to be in this moment. Actually, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Let me rephrase that. Let me stop because I almost said something not right. You are exactly who God's called you to be right in this moment. You may not feel like it. You may not want to be where you're at, but you are exactly who you are by the grace of God, and God calls you righteous. You are exactly who you're supposed to be, right? But you got to remind yourself of that, and that helps bring peace in your life. Like, hey, I know I got some past junk. I know there's some stuff that's happened in my life that's not good. I know my 2020 hasn't really started off the way that I thought it would or I figured it should. But I'm going to trust God anyway because He's faithful. He's going to come through. He's just like these songs. Even when I don't see it, even when I don't feel it, even when it don't look like it, even when it seems like, matter of fact, it seems the exact opposite. I'm still going to trust God because He's faithful and He's got great things in store for my life. Can we please give God a big hand for that? Please. You are not a finished product. You are finished on the inside. I heard someone say one time, why don't we give God the same amount of time we gave the enemy to mess us up? Give God some time. Let Him work some stuff in your heart. Let Him work some stuff in your life. And a good vision of saying, this is who I am. This is where God's taking me will remind you of that. Because the enemy will try to remind you of your past and your failures. That's why Paul says, listen, I'm forgetting what lies behind. I'm forgetting the past. And I'm pressing on to what? The goal that He has placed in front of me. That sounds like a vision to me. That sounds like Paul had a vision, a goal that he wanted to accomplish, and he wasn't going to let his past talk him out of it. He was going to remind himself of who he was, and because of that, vision will bring peace into your life. Does this sound all right? How are we going to do that as a church? That's how you can do that in your life. All of those, you can take those 3 things, you can take and you can apply as soon as you walk out of here. And I promise you, if you do those 3 things, it's not going to make your life without problems. It's not going to make your life just super easy, but I promise you, it will help you know where you're headed. And when you get to the end of this year and you take those 3 things and you apply them, it's going to be a whole lot easier to look back and say, okay, what did I accomplish? How far did I get this year in what I wanted to be and what I wanted to become? So we have to be people that have big vision. Big vision is 20/20 vision, where we see really close, but yet at the same time, we're good at seeing really far away. I want this church to be a church that has 20/20 vision, where we're really great at seeing what God has done, but we're also reminding ourselves that God is not done. God ain't even started in this church yet, guys. He hasn't even started. Has He done some amazing things? Yes. Am I super grateful for Him? Yes. But I believe this is just the beginning. We have a whole lot more that God has in store for us, so we're going to have a vision of what that looks like. So here's our vision at Life Church. It's super simple. You see it plastered everywhere. There's a reason for that. It's not just so we, have a cool-looking hallway when you come in. Like, there's a reason why we chose to put that verbiage out there, because this is what we feel like God has put in our hearts to do. This will not change. This vision right here will not change. This is who we are, and this will be how Britt and I do it and lead. This is what we'll lead from until we're dead and gone. And then whoever takes over from there, it's up to you. But at this point, this is what we're going with. We want to know God. We want to find freedom, discover purpose, and make a difference. That's our vision. Know God, find freedom, discover purpose, make a difference. On the count of three, you're going to say it with me. Just read it if you don't know it. And make me feel like you know this and believe it. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Know God, find freedom, discover purpose so we can make a difference. So here, let me simplify that for you. We will create a weekend service, a weekend experience where people belong. Groups where people can find freedom, and a place where people can serve to impact their world. We think that sounds pretty good. That's as simple as we're going to make it. That's what we're going to focus on here. That's the 3 or 4 big things that we're going to put all of our time, all of our effort into, is we're going to create a really awesome place, a really great experience on the weekend that you can bring a friend to. We're going to create groups that you can find freedom in, and then we're going to give you a place to serve. We're going to give you a place to belong, and we believe that when you do that, someone else's life in your world is impacted in a big way. You believe that? It's a really simple thing. Acts 20:20. I can't make this up. That's the verse we're going from. Isn't that crazy cool? Acts 20:20 says this, you know that I have not hesitated. This is Paul. He's talking to the church. He's talking to you and I. He's saying, you know, I haven't hesitated to preach anything that would be helpful. I haven't held anything back to you, but have taught you, here it is, publicly and from house to house. There it is, publicly and from house to house. Welcome to the publicly. Can we give ourselves hands for showing up on publicly? This is the publicly. This is a big piece of what we feel like God has placed us in Greater Lafayette for, is to give people an awesome place on the weekend to show up and belong. And can I just tell you, we will always be making room for more people. That's why we moved into this gym. Could we have stayed in that room? Maybe, but we wouldn't have grown. We're trusting and believing God that 2020 is going to be a year of growth for us. So we moved into this gym with the hope that we were going to grow, and we are. We're seeing new people come, and it's amazing. We will always be making more room for people to grow. I have already, though, had people tell me, John, we like this church because it's small. We like it because it's intimate and it's small. I'm going to say this the nicest way I know how. Are you ready? Are you good? Are you sure? I hope you hate us in 6 months. I hope you hate us in 6 months. I hope you have trouble finding a seat in 6 months. I hope that this place is such a place that people want to come and belong at, and they find such a purpose, and they get such a relationship and a connection with God that we're literally having to put out and find and buy more seats this year. We will always be growing. We will always be building the church. Not because I need some number for my ego. That is not who I am. If you get around me at all, I don't think you hear that at all from me. Like, I don't get up here and talk about, we're going to have 500. I don't do that. It's not a number thing for me. But it is a number thing because numbers matter to God. Numbers matter to God, so they will matter to us. God is in the business of growing his church. The last time I checked, Jesus died on the cross so that his lost daughters and sons could come to know him. That's why he died. So we will always be giving room. This will always be an incredibly safe place for you to bring a friend. You will always be able to bring a friend here. It is God's will for this church to grow. It's God's will for lost people to come home. It's God's will for the broken to know that there is a hope. It's God's will for marriages to be restored. It's God's will for young people to know that they have a place right here, right now, that God can use you right now. Even the kids' life, they're little world changers back there. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. If you're in this building, you have a place to belong, and God has something for you to do. It's God's will. So we will continue to grow this place, and we will continue to give an opportunity for people to grow. Listen, I refuse as a pastor to lead a church of where we come together as like a holy gathering, like a holy huddle. You say, John, what do you mean? I thought that's why we're here. Just a second. What I mean by a holy huddle is, I think a holy huddle is when a bunch of religious folks get together and we make it all about us. That is not why Britt and I came over here. That is not why we started this church over here. We did not start this church to fill this room full of holy huddles where it's about us and we don't really care about the lost. We're more about our preferences and what we want. Can I tell you, I just told my wife this last night, not like to her, but just as what I was going to say, is that I don't think Christ died for what we like our own, what's the word I'm looking for? Comfort, no, but like just our own, I got a loss of words here, but, Pleasures. Perfect. He didn't die for our own benefit, like our own pleasures. It's not something that he just said, hey, I'm going to die for you so you can get listen, I would love to come in here and teach for 3 hours. That would be, preference is the word I was looking for. My preference would be to come in here and teach for 3 hours. That'd be my preference. Would y'all enjoy that? No. Nobody would. I get lost every Sunday. Nobody's going to want to be a part of that. He didn't die for our personal preference, y'all. The last time I checked, he died so that his lost children could come home. So what will we make our weekends about? What will we make everything at this church about? Lost people coming home. Lost people coming home. That's what we're going to do. When shipping was a major form of transportation up and down the seaboard of Europe, and it was incredibly dangerous to travel it, rescue societies were formed up and down the coast. If a ship was coming in and they got shipwrecked in the cold Atlantic Ocean, a bell would ring and people would jump out into small boats and go out into the water to save as many people as possible. Over time, they would come back and they would party because they had accomplished the thing the rescue society had formed and it had been formed to do. They had one mission, to get people saved, to save people who were shipwrecked. How many know when you leave people to themselves, they make it about themselves? Because over time, they started to realize that water was a little too cold and it was a little dangerous to get out there trying to save others. And what we now know what was formed back then as a rescue society, we now know as yacht clubs. I refuse as the leader of this church to ever let this place that started as a rescue society ever become some yacht club that we're just showing up because of our benefits and whatever. Like that, let's not be that. Let's care about the lost. Let's care about what Jesus is doing. Can I hear like something? Amen. Make sure you're with me on that. So that's what we're going to do. We're always going to have a place for lost kids to come home. And as we do that, we're going to grow. And I'm going to talk to you about how that is right now because we're going to do a really good publicly, but we're also going to do a really good home to home. We're going to get really good at doing house to house. In other words, we're going to form these things called life groups. And life groups are going to be all about the opportunity for us to build relationship. Can I tell you right now, people are not going to continue to come to this church because it's got great worship or because it's got great teaching. I mean, I know I'm amazing, but they're not going to stay for that. They're going to stay because they find a friend. They're going to stay because they find a friend, they feel like they belong, they feel like God's got something. That's what they're going to, that somebody cares about them. So we're going to form groups that meet through the week. And that is where us as believers, that is where we are going to have the opportunity to continue to grow, go a little deeper in our walk with God and in our relationships, to find the freedom that so many of us have been ready and looking for in our lives. We're going to get connected with people. Can I tell you, you will never accomplish the things that God has called you to accomplish on your own. You won't do it. It's not how you were designed. It's not how any of us were designed. God designed us to be in relationship with people. So we're going to get really good at the publicly, but we're also going to get really good at the house to house. And I'll tell you about that at the end of how that's going to happen. Here's how we do this, all right? And I'm almost done. Can you give me 5 more minutes? I know this is a little longer, but there is a lot of info that I'm trying to give us in 1 week. So house to house is our small groups. Publicly, this is your publicly. Vision in and of itself is great. You got to have it. Culture, which we actually talk about our vibe. Culture will eat vision for lunch. In other words, if you don't have the right culture, if you don't have the right day-to-day of who you are, you're never going to accomplish your vision. It's never going to happen. You can have the sweetest, coolest vision in the world, but if you don't have the right culture, the right vibe is what we call it, to get you there, it's never going to happen. So here's our vibe. Here's who we are. Here's how we get to our vision, and I will go through these quickly. Jesus, we make him first. How many think that's a pretty important deal? That's what this whole thing's built on. That's what this whole thing is about. Here's how we say it. We are Jesus people, not religious people. This is about a relationship with God, and we will not back down from keeping him the main thing. He will always be the main thing here. Always be the main thing. Fun. Here's the next one. Fun. We have fun. How many want heaven to be fun? For real, how many want it to be fun? If heaven's going to be fun, then why can we not have fun? Why can we not come in this place expecting and exciting and full of life and raising our hands and maybe shouting a little bit and just maybe giving praise to God or whatever it may look like and being okay with that? It doesn't have to be weird. It doesn't have to be spooky. Let's make this place fun. Let's make it a place where we want to bring our friends and they're like, dude, that place was really cool. We make it hard for people. This is the fun. We make it hard for people to go to hell by making it fun to go to church. I'd much rather stand in front of God and say, hey man, you almost crossed the line. Because listen to this. We will do anything short of sin to reach people. Anything short of sin to reach. What is that? I don't know. Anything short of sin to reach people. We care about people. Everyone is welcome, and you don't have to believe to belong. Can I tell you right now that there may be something I've said here that you don't believe the same thing I believe. And as a pastor and leader, I'm fine with that. I am perfectly comfortable with who I am in Christ to know that you're not going to believe with every single thing I say. And you don't have to believe. Even what we believe, the big things that we believe, you don't have to believe that here to belong. You don't. You could come and belong, and as we grow together, we're going to learn together. But you don't have to believe to belong. Everybody at this church, in other words, has the right to be wrong. No, I'm totally kidding. That's supposed to be funny. Generous. We are generous. Generosity is a privilege. We're generous with our time, talents, and treasure. We go first in our giving. It's the first thing we do. God has given richly towards us. It's our honor to give back to him. We're going to be known as a generous church. We're going to affect this community in a positive way because we're going to be cheerful givers. We're going to be generous people. Here's another great one. Work. We do work. Listen, we don't have to serve. We get to serve. We're not sitting around here, man, I got to go to Sunday and serve again today. We're like, dude, I get to serve. Somebody's life is going to be changed. I get the opportunity to shake a hand. I get the opportunity to park a car. How cool is this? Like, that may not be your purpose in life, but I promise you it's helping to change somebody else's. We do work, man. We serve. We pray like it depends on God, and we work like it depends on us. Everything we do is for the one to meet Jesus. I will never apologize for asking you to get involved. I will never apologize for asking you to serve. Jesus himself said, I did not come to be served, but to serve. And when he served, lives were changed. So when we serve, lives are changed. Passion, we are passionate. Everything we do it with passion. From our worship to our service, we do it with Holy Spirit energy. Passion drives us. Passion for Jesus, passion for people, passion for his church. Here's honor. Honor, we choose honor. Honor is a choice. We honor up, down, and all around. We are grateful for every generation. Honor closes the gap on what was and what is to come. Y'all good with these? Does this sound like a good culture for us to have? How about grace? How many need a little grace even this week? We show grace. We believe in God's relentless grace, and no one is too far gone for a turnaround. Because we have received God's grace, we extend grace to others. Can we stop acting like we have arrived in this deal? Can we stop it? Can we just love people right where they're at? Yeah, but John, they do this. Okay, great. Here's my prayer with our grace as we receive God's grace. Here's my prayer as a leader. There will never be anything that you do that we will tell you to go away.